Today's video is brought to you by MagTech Ammunition, the exclusive supplier of range ammunition for all active self-protection training.
Joseph, thank you so much for coming and doing an interview, man. It is, I think, really helpful for the defensive community to hear from people who successfully defended themselves. And you did a good job, bro. I mean, in an overall sense, I got very little stuff. So I'd kind of like to talk before, during, and now after, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So tell me about you, man. How long have you been carrying a handgun for self-protection?
I started carrying shortly after we had been robbed the first time.
Wow.
And I spoke with my boss, and he said, as long as it wasn't taken into the store, like you can have it on delivery, you can have it, in your car, just, do it legally and everything. He just didn't want it in his store, I guess, for insurance purposes or him being liable. But at that point in the video, I clocked out and
right.
Was on my own time, and I don't know. I just in North Carolina, it's very kind of acceptable to see people open carrying, know that people are concealed carrying. And
Sure.
I wouldn't really recommend open carrying. You're kind of giving, showing your hand.
Right.
But
so how long had you been carrying when this incident happened? How long ago between when you got your permit and started carrying and this incident happened?
Well, that was I didn't have my permit to carry. I was open carrying at that point. And
okay, so you were still getting after it. Okay.
I mean, it was very like Midwest, 18th century kind of feeling, or 19th century, just kind of cowboys. And I knew I needed to get my permit to carry concealed, and that was just my best option at that time to defend myself and for protection. And I kept my distance from everybody. If I was at someone's door making a delivery, I would be kind of angled, so that they couldn't, I would just be like maybe almost arm's reach from them.
Yeah.
And, everything.
So had you had any formal training at that point?
Just growing up with my father and my grandfather, teaching me gun safety, and I did junior ROTC in high school, and we had like air rifles, and you just kind of learn that stuff there, I guess. And
okay.
A lot of it's common sense that you just have to maybe be prompted on to think about. And I don't know. I just grew up not really fearing guns, but learning about them and understanding how they work, and safety going along with them, and just really having a respect for them instead of any kind of fear.
Right, for sure. Okay, so I mean, hey man, you're off duty, so you're openly carrying, you're on your own time, and you and it looked like a couple other employees were just kind of maybe hanging around the parking lot. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, we just all went out for a smoke, and it had been raining and it was real cold, so I changed out of my raincoat and put on a coat that I just kept in my trunk, and took off my wet work hat and put on just a dry hat. And maybe not even 5 minutes later, this guy just comes walking up with a hood over his face, and it wasn't cold enough to be bundled up that much, and the coat that I was wearing was just a dry coat. So he just kind of looked suspicious compared to the weather, having nothing but, just his eyes, and I guess his mouth was even covered. And so we all kind of had that feeling like, this is it. We're probably about to be robbed. And you first see a girl going inside. You can't hear anything on the video, but she's going in to answer a telephone call that the store was receiving. And she's just doing her job, just, what she's supposed to be doing. And the manager walks in, just, see if he can help this guy, knowing that he's probably about to rob us. And that's just where you first see them. And the manager, just kind of calmly walks the long way around towards the safe. And you can't see on the video, but we had 2 college students eating in a booth. And they were able to go out the back door and out the fire escape into the alley. And
Oh, good.
They ran to a diner, and there were police officers eating in the diner. So
Wow.
everything kind
So the
of,
cops were pretty close.
yeah, they were, within running distance. And
Wow. And so you saw from the outside, you saw the perp pull a gun on the manager?
we just saw him look really suspicious until he got inside. And then we saw Gerard's hands go up, the manager, and the man pulled a gun kind of sloppily out of his sweatpants pocket. And
Right.
that was when we realized. And whenever I had walked in, you kind of see me come up to the register, and I realized he has no clue I exist. And that's, whenever I decide to get a better angle and get better cover, because where I was standing was behind like the refrigerating table, and it's
Right.
filled with like a bunch of stainless steel doors, and everything is it's a lot safer, I guess, than just a countertop and press board cabinets. And
Right. You went to a spot, so you went, from on the camera angle, he went left from where the camera was recording. You went right because you had a little bit better angle on him and better cover.
right, and I kept the customers that were eating in the booth behind me, but to my side, to where and I was just kind of trying to give them an opportunity to be able to flee, I guess, because I knew if they were directly behind me, that would be dangerous for them.
Sure.
And after they got up and made it past the fountain machine, and they were no longer in danger, like in it right then. And I don't know, you just kind of see in the video, and for me, looking back and thinking about it, it's just it just happened in just a matter of seconds. But
Yeah, so fast, man. So did you challenged him verbally, is what it looks like to me. I mean, we don't have audio, but clearly he sees you or hears you at some point and pretty immediately gives up. Can you walk us through that?
So when he first sees me, he doesn't realize I have a gun. I have like a refrigerator that's like countertop height, and then there's like a lid above it, so it probably comes up to about almost to my chin maybe, so I could duck down and be out of sight and go either way. So I felt pretty comfortable in the sense, like, I could stand my ground right there. And
Okay.
before he could even point his gun at me, it was almost I had mine pointed at him. And I guess he knew later, when the cops were inspecting the gun, they found that there was not even a bullet in the chamber. So he knew he had nothing to do but to surrender his gun, I guess.
So it was a real gun, but it was empty.
Yes, it had. It was a high point, like the most affordable gun I guess you could purchase.
Yeah.
And then he had like hollow points in the magazine, but nothing in the chamber. And my gun was loaded, safety off, in my holster, like snapped in. So, my holster was acting as my safety, and my, trigger finger was acting as my safety. Everything
Sure.
else was ready to go. And I just.
So you challenged him, and did you say something to him? Did you say, "Hey, drop the gun," or "Show me your hands," or what? Did you say anything?
Yeah, it was just drop the effing gun. And
Mm-hmm.
I was more livid than anything. I was just like in a fit of rage, just because this had happened by him or somebody that had fit that description 2 weeks earlier, and
Okay.
he made off with money. That's why I had started open carrying, because it had become such an issue, and the cops were investigating, but they didn't have any leads at that point. And after this had happened, they were able to actually set up a sting operation, I believe, and catch him. But this night in the video, you see he drops his gun, he leaves it in our kitchen floor.
Yeah.
And the police were able to retrieve like a palm print or partial print off of the gun. So, in court, they were able to prove that was, that they had caught the right guy. And I think because I was so angry, and so I just was trying to protect my coworkers, my friends, I just wanted him gone. I didn't want him, we could have all tackled him. We could have all, held him there until the police came, which in hindsight, I think might have been a better idea. Just,
So actually, though, Joseph, I think you did a fine job in that. Listen, three, four of you piling up on that guy would have been very dangerous for everybody. So just saying, listen, maybe saying get on the ground, but he chose to leave. Okay, fine, man. He doesn't have his gun. Letting him go was a fine decision, man. I mean, I don't fault you for that at all. I think you did a fine thing there.
okay, I appreciate that, because I just
Yeah.
wanted everybody to be safe, and if you start making somebody feel trapped, they feel threatened, and they're gonna, respond with whatever, just like you trap an animal or something. It's just they're gonna try and get away any way they can.
Well, and at that point, he didn't have a gun on him, so it's not like you're going to shoot him. And I get it. So as he's walking out, you got a little, you were angry because you're frustrated. He'd done some things to those people that you really love. And so, did I get you again? Did I lose you for a sec there?
Just for a second.
Yeah. So you were, you're angry. You're furious at this guy for what he's done. He comes back around the counter and he's heading out. It looked like you transitioned the pistol to your left hand.
And that's one thing I've been focusing on now, is because I'm left eye dominant.
Okay.
And I'm trying to talk to people with a lot of experience, because it felt more natural in my left hand. I can't explain why. And I've gone to the range and shot left-handed and right-handed, and I'm slightly ambidextrous when it comes to things like bowling or other like hand-eye coordination activities, I guess.
Uh-huh.
As something I really need to figure out and pick one and focus on, critiquing that.
Well, I tell you what, man, as a firearms trainer, as a guy who you and I are actually in the same boat. So I'm a natural lefty, but I'm a converted righty. So my grandma would not let me be left-handed when I was a kid. And so I do most things right-handed. However, when the things that kind of I taught myself to do, I tend to do left-handed. So as a left-eye dominant guy, when I picked up handgun shooting, I just picked it up left-handed. You're not wrong with that if you want to go that route. If it feels good to you and you can learn from there and it's good, I don't think it's wrong at all. It's just either way, man. Pick one and go with it.
Mm-hmm. And they make like different handguns that are very just perfect for left-handed people. And my dad has one, and I've kind of practiced with that. Like it's got to drop the magazine on either side, and to take the safety out, things like that is on both sides of the pistol. And but I think it's definitely given me a lot to think about with that.
Sure.
Having that experience to, you kind of go into these, not just critiquing myself, but also how can I, become better at all around, I guess.
100%, man. So let me ask, what firearm are you carrying right now?
That Smith & Wesson was a little bit too large that I was carrying in the video. Right now it's a Ruger 9mm.
Okay.
I can't remember what the model is, but it's.
But do you remember what the Smith was that you had on you? Was it an M&P or was it one of the SD9s?
It was a lot older. I believe it was from the 80s even. It's
okay.
All steel, I think a 59 or a 69 model. And
okay, 59 series. All right, cool, man. You went old school, man. You're like Sonny Crockett up in there.
And it was my late grandfather's pistol, and it's just got a lot of sentimental value attached to it as well. And
yeah. Well, hey, man, it worked. It saved your life, right?
Yeah, and I like the just the realness of it. It's heavier, and it's kind of a lot larger than most pistols anybody would carry these days. But it fires really well. And
nice. So a couple more things as he leaves, a couple people follow him out, right? So how far did you follow him?
That was just so chaotic. I wish everybody had just laid on the ground, honestly, because that blonde girl you see behind him,
yeah,
she was just, all in my way. Like I couldn't have ever shot at him if I had to and feel comfortable without her, being in danger. And Gerard, the manager at the time, he had a pistol like near the manager's desk, near the safe, not following the rules of the company, but that's what he realized. He was no longer being followed by that man. You can kind of see that in the video. And so he just goes and he grabs his gun, and he was the one that chased him the furthest. And he realized, he's running from me. I can't shoot him. He could have friends. So he stopped chasing him. Everybody, his brother was there, and he's the man standing in front of the door, and he was really in the way. It was just kind of more irritating that there was so many just innocent bystanders around. And
so I'm gonna ask you a question about this, because a couple of people have made comments about it. So the narrated video, the main one, posted this morning on the Main Active Self Protection channel. This video will go live tomorrow. This interview. So a couple of people have said she acted really weird and she was part of it.
I had that thought too, and she was kind of sketchy in general, just very just moved to town, very just something about her, you just get that kind of feeling about people. And I had a friend that watched the video, didn't know that girl at all. She mentioned that it was kind of suspicious, like she might have been on it. She might have been the brains of the operation. And but if so, she was either really arrogant or really stupid, because she knew that there were coworkers of hers carrying.
Yeah. So, but nothing ever came of that, because I mean, this has been fully adjudicated, right? This guy's already been convicted.
Yeah, he's gone for at least a decade and a half, and no chance of parole. And he did a lot of other illegal things that they were able to charge him with as well, I think, and other instances. And but I just don't know. I think that she might have just I think I might have lost you.
Nope, you're there. I got you.
Okay. I think she just might have not known what to do. I don't know. But it definitely looked suspicious.
It looked weird, but I didn't have any, I didn't have any inside baseball on that, so I didn't say anything to that effect. But you kind of felt the same way. And did she last long at the store then?
I'm not sure if she still works there. I no longer work there.
Okay.
But after that, I was just really putting too many miles on my car. Delivering at night just wasn't as fun as it used to be with all these things happening. And
yeah, no kidding, right? 2 armed robberies in several weeks. I'm done, man. It's not worth it.
And in years earlier, I worked at Jimmy John's for a while, and I was on a delivery and held up at gunpoint, and I was just left defenseless, completely just threw my hands up, let them just take whatever they wanted from me. And took my cell phone, my car keys, so I couldn't chase them or call the police. It was just, I was pretty helpless. And that was whenever I started really looking into being able to defend myself and stand my own ground and not wait for the police to arrive 20 minutes later.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about that as lessons learned from this robbery. Tell me what you have decided, or is there anything that you have changed since you started this, since this event happened, with the way that you carry or what you do?
I just, I mean, you definitely get a sense of your surroundings a lot more. Like, you're not kind of walking through life just lackadaisical. You're definitely focused on what's going on around you, and just constantly being aware of, just everything you can be aware of in that situation. Like,
okay.
I'm not sure how to explain it. It's just you're just a lot more in tune with focusing on what could happen.
Right.
But not so much paranoid about it. Just more, the idea of this situation happening. How would I react to that calmly? And but I don't know. I just kind of hope nothing like that ever happens again.
Of course, man. You never want it to happen again, right? I mean, obviously, you won that gunfight, dude. So I do want to ask a couple of things about the gunfight itself. Tell me why you decided in that moment not to press the trigger. I think him holding a gun on everybody, if you'd have plugged that guy, nobody would have given you a hard time for it. But you chose not to. Where was that decision made for you?
Well, honestly, for me, and I cannot explain it any other way than just the Holy Spirit guiding me. I mean, I felt like I was physically there, but I was being driven by something greater than me. Just something, it just felt like my actions were not my own. It was just, I can't explain it really. It felt very spiritual though. And
dude,
I'm not
so we have this thing in, go ahead, man.
I'm not a very, I don't, I believe in God and go to church, but I don't, walk around thinking miracles happen all the time. But just sometimes stuff like that can't be explained. I just don't know really what I was thinking, and I just knew that was what was happening, I guess, in the moment.
Dude, I think that happens. I think for every person that we say, well, you'll fall to the lowest level of your training, sometimes it's your very best day and everything goes exactly right. And you realize, talk to other guys like you, man, and say, listen, it wasn't me that day, that God had his hand on me and I did the right thing, and it was supernatural. So I totally believe it. And you're not the first guy that I've heard with that. Okay.
Okay.
Have you gotten any professional training since this happened? Have you gone to a class?
I've started looking into it. I went this past weekend with a really good friend to the range, and we were talking to the owner of the range about it. And I think the more knowledge you get, and the more humble you stay about it, and the more open to learning as much as you can, and just absorbing that information and putting it into practice is, that's just more prepared. You can not be any more prepared than constantly learning things, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you're still in North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, a couple of things, man. If you're interested in that, now this one's going to be a hoof for you, okay? But we have our Active Self-Protection National Conference at the end of September. All right, it's 3 full days of firearms training, and it's going to be a great time. September 27th, 28th, 29th. It's in Manhattan, Kansas. It's kind of in the middle of the nation, right? But if you can make it, it's on me. You're absolutely welcome. We'll have some of the best trainers in America there, and I would love to have you come and train with us, bro.
That's quite an offer. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, if you can. And the other one there, it's again a little ways of a hoof from you, but at the end of this month on July 26th. Oh, geez, I'd have to look it up on my phone. I think the 26th is a Friday. I will be north of Atlanta, Georgia, doing one of my lessons learned seminars. And if you'd like to attend that, I'm happy to have you there as my guest, bro.
I'll definitely check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'll also ask Brian Hill and Shelly Hill, who own the Complete Combatant. They're doing their 1.5-day force readiness class that weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and I'll bug them about that as well. And whether or not they're great people. If you want to attend that class, really cool. It's not live fire, but it's a lot of we use our firearms to do dry fire, and we do some combative stuff like that. It's really fun. It's really helpful for firearms carriers. And if they can't do it, then your seat in that, if you want to come, is on me. And that's a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. Come to that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, bro, I really thank you for coming on, man. It's a really interesting thing. I think you did a fine job. Couple things there, of course, with muzzle discipline. When you got that girl kind of running in front of you there, sometimes we got to learn to avert her muzzle. But in an overall sense, you were ready on that day. You had your firearm on you. You were willing to protect others. You didn't just bolt, and that's a personal decision. You were able to use a verbal command. You didn't shoot when maybe you could have, but you didn't absolutely have to, and that's a really good decision. And then you didn't chase the guy, and you let him go, and so that was probably the smarter decision there. So in overall sense, man, you did a really good job. And as a guy who trains people with pistols every day, and that's what I do for a living, I commend you. I think you did a good job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
You bet. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate the time that you took with us, and I would love to see you at any of these events. And if I can help you in the interim, Joseph, I would love to, man. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.